The first 3 slots in the Mad Lib are all about hanging out with the protagonist before the story starts. You're empathizing with them, you're building a working relationship with them. You're getting to know the character who is going to stand in your spotlight. But now we've reached the last slot in the Mad Lib, and here's where things get twisted. Because when you're designing the antagonism, you gotta screw up the protagonist's life, and the more personal, the better. Try to customize a challenge for them that targets their specific weakness. Find interesting ways to force them out of their comfort zone. Maybe even torture them. Threaten to send them to their own personal hell. Because if you leave the protagonist with no good choices, then you're forcing them to behave honestly. What new risks are they willing to take? What are they willing to sacrifice? How far are they willing to go to get something that they really want? In short, the antagonism can prompt the protagonist to become the truest version of themselves. When you reach the end of Frank Danielle's Mad Lib, remember, you can use any part of the story as antagonism. Any part. A character can be the antagonist, like an enemy or an ally who's bad at helping. A setting can be the antagonist, like a dangerous location or an oppressive era. A theme can be the antagonist, like how the protagonist feels about parenthood, or what the protagonist needs in order to feel independent. The audience can be the antagonist, like in pro wrestling. A lot of the bad guys, the heels in pro wrestling, resent having to perform for us, the unwashed masses. Boo! I showered this morning. Boo! Even the protagonist themselves can play their own antagonist if they have self-sabotaging behavior, which we'll talk more about in the lesson about character arcs. So let's talk about all these different types of antagonists that you can use. Now, if the antagonism is coming from another character, then it helps to think of the antagonist as a protagonist from a rival storyline. We're watching the main storyline about our protagonist, but their antagonist has their own storyline where they want something badly, but they have trouble getting it. And for some reason, the antagonist can't achieve their objective without messing up the protagonist. So inevitably, these two characters collide. When the protagonist is up against a setting or a theme, then the antagonist is really the storyteller. The storyteller is hiding in the subtext and toying with the protagonist's life like a marionette. So when the antagonist is a setting or a theme, we don't think of those things as characters, but in most art forms, characters are the ones explaining what's going on to the audience. If your antagonist is a setting or a theme, then this is a good opportunity to start brainstorming the characters, locations, and rules that demonstrate the setting or theme. And when the protagonist is their own antagonist, well, we'll talk about this a lot more in the lesson about character arcs, but it helps to think of the supporting cast as a gauge to measure the protagonist's progress. In other words, if a protagonist is their own antagonist, all of the other characters are there to tell us how well the protagonist is doing against themselves. Their interactions with the protag can demonstrate where the character is on the spectrum between protagonism and antagonism. Are they achieving their objective? Are they self-sabotaging at the moment? Are they somewhere in between? Some interesting nuance. So that's conflict in just one seemingly simple sentence. Someone wants something badly, but they have trouble getting it. Anytime you want to brainstorm a good premise for your next story, fill out that Mad Lib and I bet you'll be off to a good start. And if you're ready to try it for yourself, then scroll down. I have a couple of creative challenges that may help you get started.